What's going on, guys? My name is Noah, and today we are going to talk about my recent relapse, what I think led to it, what it's been like since, and the effects it's had on me and those around me, per popular request from you guys. So Brandon Tempest is the gentleman who left this question. I asked you guys to give me your feedback on what you want to hear me talk about, and unfortunately, this channel has been flooded with the alcohol topic, because when I'm in a relapse mode and a drinking mode, which I'm still currently in, though thankfully I haven't drank for the last 3 days, it dominates my life. It just does, and it changes me and the way I negotiate the world, how I behave, how I think. It's a huge deal, and unfortunately, especially for anyone who's been around this channel for a while, it's pretty obvious how my content changes. I kind of go from being like a champion of my own life, someone who's always looking to grow and work to be better, and who's very engaged and who's very thoughtful and all that stuff, to someone who's kind of just hanging in there, just trying to toe the line. But anyway, I'll talk about that in a second. So what do I think led to my relapse? So for those of you who don't know, I checked myself into rehab, mid-February of this year. And I got out mid-March. And of course, this did coincide with COVID-19, with the coronavirus. So the last 2 weeks that I was in treatment, everything changed inside the treatment center. We stopped going to outside meetings. Fear started to consume the house that I was in, the guys that I was living with, the program. My outpatient plans changed because we were no longer going to be showing up on site. So my plan originally was to get out and then go to their outpatient program. I think it was like every Wednesday or maybe every Tuesday night, something like that. And I knew that was going to be changing. And so the last week I was in there in general, things got pretty claustrophobic. We couldn't go anywhere. We lost gym privileges. Things changed. The world flipped upside down while I was in treatment. And that left a lot of doubt as to what exactly I was going to do when I got out. What did that mean for going to 12-step meetings? Because this was a 12-step and education-based treatment center that I went to at Crestview. That said, I got out still with a lot of excitement and enthusiasm and hope for my recovery, for my sobriety. I really did. I sincerely mean that. I wouldn't check myself in there passively. No one threatened me to go to rehab. There was no metaphorical gun to my head. I got out. The plan was to immediately go back to my gym and coach and train people, to get back on my YouTube platform, to really work my other channel that I have, just to start living my life again to the best of my ability in this new space. And I sincerely believed I was going to do that one day at a time, of course. It's always tricky trying to reflect on what exactly causes someone to relapse. I mean, I'm a chronic relapser. It's not my favorite thing about me, because it would have been nice to get it and make it stick, but I digress. Let's see if I can be objective and honest. So I know the COVID-19 thing had some play in it, and it especially seemed obvious that it did when after being out of treatment for a few days, our gym closed. So I'm a CrossFit coach, CrossFit athlete. I like to train people. I like to impact people's lives positively in that way. And my evening changed like that. I knew I wasn't going to be somewhere in the evening. Evenings have always been, for a lot of people, it's a trigger time for me. So I think that leaving was huge. I would traditionally go to my dad's office to get content for my main. This is my main channel, but I co-own Paul Thomas MD YouTube. The quarantine protocol started, the fear started perpetuating about COVID. I got scared, I got anxious. I tend to have a bit of anxiety. Certainly, I've always had health anxiety, so I was like, I'm not going into that office. I'm not going into a medical office while COVID is just taking everybody out. This is how I felt. So my Monday through Wednesday morning routine changed. And then lastly, and This is a weird one, but so my wife, there was a family health crisis the first weekend I was out. So I got out on a Monday. All the stuff changed by Saturday that I had already mentioned. And then my wife needed to go out of town to see a family member who was suffering a major and very serious health crisis. We have dogs, we have responsibilities here, and I told my wife, I was like, I got this. And I thought I did. And that was short-sighted of me looking back, but I was like, I got this, babe. I can take care of the dogs, I can take care of the house. I can be that guy. I can show up. I can rise to this occasion. And I wasn't ready to be alone. I found that when I ended up relapsing, I didn't even know I was going to relapse until like I was driving to the store. And I don't know if you've ever relapsed or if you know anyone who has or if you can relate, but sometimes I can go from having like extreme passion, extreme focus, extreme structure and enthusiasm and in humility, right? And then just be like a zombie and just go, right? I just started driving. I just started driving to the store and I bought beer and it was a shitty experience. I felt terrible. Got drunk, woke up, I was hungover the next day. And I was just like, what just happened? What just happened? Now, the part that's hard to understand is like, did a part of me see the COVID thing, get anxious, see the quarantine protocols, lose the gym, and then make an excuse within myself that like, well, look at these circumstances. What an unreasonable time to get sober. I lost my outpatient thing. I have to do meetings on Zoom. I'm isolated. I'm going to be at home a lot. I'm going to fail. May as well just drink and try after. I don't know where that comes into it. I know that thinking at the very least I gave myself some permission to just stay in relapse mode and not try to fix it right away. I can't be sure if that played into it on a really conscious level early on. But those are the events that led to my relapse, as I best can recall them with as much honesty and integrity possible. What has it been like since? So what has life been like since I relapsed? Life has been, it was a strange world for me when the quarantine thing happened. Basically, here's how my quarantine wound up looking. No bullshit, real talk. My quarantine wound up being like this. I'd say 4 to 5 days a week, I drink 10 to 14 beers a night.
I have feelings, and I cry, and it all hurts. It all hurts plenty. I'm trying to stay together, I'm trying to be brave or whatever, but I drink and it hurts and I cry.
I wake up around noon every day. I drink a ton of water all throughout the night and in the morning. I drink my coffee, try to clear my head. I go to my office, I try to get one video done, edited, because I had lots of footage for my big channel. So I edit a video, get it ready for the big channel. I fast all day long. I go upstairs and I take a long hot shower and try to sweat it out and try to detox. I take my vitamins, I drink some more water.
It definitely hurts being an alcoholic because you don't know when you're going to drink. You might get experience and you might get a sense of how much you usually drink, but you're not free. You don't know when you'll start drinking. And so you can't make promises and you can't keep appointments and you can't fulfill commitments. You're just a slave. I'm not even drunk right now. I've had 6.5 beers. I got another 6 to 10 in me. But it is sad feeling like you've got
absolutely no sense of this stuff, no sense of control. Oh, damn it. Damn it all. Here's the reality of my drinking. It's in 1 hour. And that's what I've had to drink in the last hour. And that's how I prefer to drink, by the way. By a long shot. Drinking is extremely stressful for me around anyone. I think the only time I enjoy it is if I'm like alone. I train in my garage because we have a garage gym, so I train my ass off from 4:30 to 5:30, 4:15 sometimes to 5:30, 5:45. Sweat it out, work as hard as I possibly could, and I did that 5 days a week. And then I would coach digitally. I'd coach a CrossFit class for our members through one of those online video platforms. By then, I would start to feel better. I would try to eat as clean as I could. And then most evenings, I would sort of just repeat that same process. Around like 8:30, I would just start cracking cans and usually drink until 11:30. It's not easy being an alcoholic. Because you don't mean to drink when you drink. You don't. Especially when you are an alcoholic who's self-aware. So, in your mind, you know you're an alcoholic and you know you shouldn't drink. And you know that you can't help yourself. And you know that you have like so many talents and so many gifts and so many abilities that are way beyond drinking. But eventually you're gonna need to drink again. And you don't know when you're gonna drink again. And you don't know necessarily how much you're gonna drink or what you're gonna do when you're drinking. And that's scary. And that's not easy because, especially when you become self-aware, you're like, fuck, I hope I don't do anything crazy. I hope I don't do anything too stupid. Because I just don't know when I'm going to drink or when I'm not going to drink, so. It's not easy being an alcoholic. It doesn't discriminate either. I'm so blessed. Got a good family. I made a good living off YouTube, but I might tear it all down by accident because I can't stop drinking. Anyway. I love you, Jess. That's my wife. I love her. I feel bad for her. I love her. I love you so much. I went through a phase there in quarantine where I was binge eating a lot as well, and I started to gain some weight. I usually combat that by fasting more. So if you don't know what fasting is, it's just creating a small window of time that you would eat. So usually my window of time for eating most of the quarantine, except for like days that I didn't drink, which was like I said, 2 to 3 days a week, I usually didn't eat till about 7:30 or 8 to mitigate the fact that I was taking in so many empty calories. I always have I don't know if it's strange, but I have a strong instinct to balance things out, like that weird that cognitive dissonance in me to be healthy, but knowing I'm living an unhealthy lifestyle, and the two forces are constantly at odds and battling. They did that all of quarantine. So I spent a bunch of money on Uber Eats, a bunch of money. Didn't drive drunk, which I'm thankful for, and I'm proud of for me personally, just because that's been an issue with the past. And then 2-3 days a week, I wouldn't drink, and I just kind of try to detox, clear my head. I didn't want to become too physically dependent. Never drank in the morning, never drank during the day. I spent a lot of time with my wife. That was the typical quarantine for me. That really was like how it was a blur. It's just every day was kind of like that. And the 2-3 nights a week that I wasn't drinking, I didn't sleep well. I mean, my sleep quality has just been crap in general since quarantine started. Naturally, right? If you're drinking as heavily as I tend to drink, and yeah, I always knew that like after 2 or 3 or 4 days in it, I was gonna have to just lay in bed, very hot. I'm always warm in my detox days, the days I'm not drinking, so I just lay hot in bed, even though it's cold in the room. And I struggle to sleep, and I just try to rest and recover. A pretty unsustainable lifestyle. Always knew that, always had the intention that, all right, I'm going to get through this quarantine, whatever. I'm going to continue to try to love myself, forgive myself for this. This just is what it is. What a weird time in the world. But then, when quarantine ends, when COVID ends, I'll take charge of my life. That's what I always told myself. And so far that hasn't happened. June came, and I was like going to do this 30-day alcohol experiment through Annie Grace. She's the writer of the book, This Naked Mind. That was my plan in June, and it hasn't really happened. I've continued to drink quite heavily in the evenings, usually just on my own, but occasionally with other people. Yeah. What are the effects? This is the last part of this question. What are the effects it's had on me and those around me? The obvious effects it's had on me are like digestive, like my physical health. I constantly have diarrhea, like constantly. Anytime I drink, I get inflamed. My GI tract gets inflamed. My face, my skin gets inflamed a bit. And I have really, really bad bowel movements. My body rejects it. It is a poison. My physical output's changed. That's for sure. I don't train as efficiently, fueling myself that way, no matter how hard I try to eat healthy and fast and drink water and take my supplements. My sleep quality has been greatly impacted. My anxiety's been a lot worse. Naturally, if you binge drink the way I do, there's a kickback. The body keeps score, the brain keeps score. So my physical anxiety is a bit worse, and definitely my rumination's been worse. I spin and I obsess because it's a stressful time anyway. And I think if I were drinking or not drinking, I would have to take a lot of ownership over managing thought spirals and rumination. And it's just a lot harder in a state of being intoxicated and recovering to follow my game plan. My self-care has gone down. On my sober days, I still journal and I check in, do like 10-step with my wife, and read my books, meditate pretty consistently on the days that I'm sober. I take really good care of myself on the days that I'm sober, but if I'm drinking 4 or 5 days a week, those days I don't have the energy to take really good care of myself other than to fast and try to eat really healthy. And I still work out and I still coach my CrossFit, but it certainly just gives me partial access to myself. And that's a toughie. That always eats me up like every day, that I know I'm not fully available to myself. Another thing it's impacted is just my productivity. I am just not very productive, and I'm not very reliable. I can't take on extra stuff. I can't commit to stuff in this space, which is tough because I always reflect on how incredibly productive I am when I'm sober. I'm incredibly, incredibly productive, and I'm very thoughtful, and I'm very consistent and dependable, and I'm just not that way in this state. I can commit to my CrossFit class. I hit my training. I coach. I hit my training. I can keep my big channel alive, put out enough content to keep it from dying. This channel really suffered because there's not much I have to offer in that space anymore. And that's why it's tough probably for you guys, a lot of you, to follow me, right now because you're just like, I'm assuming it's like just watching a train wreck a bit, right? A bit. And it's not that I'm not a worthy person, or I don't think I have good qualities still, or there hasn't been good moments in this quarantine, but it's like in the grand scheme of what I stand for, what I want this channel to stand for, and what I want to offer other people beyond what this is, which is candid expression of my life, vulnerability, honesty, those things matter. But undoubtedly, this is not what most of you signed up for. Relationships-wise, it just made me more selfish. I can't check on other people the way I know I would want to, because I'm not clear. I'm not all there a lot of the time. I think partial access to myself is still pretty effective for trying to be a decent person, a decent friend, a decent husband, a decent. I'm mediocre to decent, but it has impacted my ability to be a really thoughtful, caring, and selfless person. I end up thinking about myself more than I would like to, and I know that. I definitely know that. My last video was all about how it impacted my marriage and my relationship with my wife, and so I encourage you. It's kind of a long video, and as I watched it back, I'm very repetitive. However, it does go over the fact that while my wife and I have maintained a really tight and close-knit relationship, as much so as you can during drinking, it definitely is hard on us. Our communication is good, better than ever before when it comes to me in a drinking mode, but it's apples and oranges to when I'm sober as far as how her peace of mind is deeply impacted by me binge drinking frequently. So that pretty much sums it up. I can't think of much else that's worth saying. I appreciate this time to be able to share with you. This is really helpful to me. It's July 4th right now. It's 8:10. I haven't announced this or said anything about it because I keep telling myself I'd get through it first, but I have tried the alcohol experiment through Annie Grace, which is the writer for This Naked Mind. The alcohol experiment is a 30-day challenge to rewire your brain, to detox your body, and to change the way you look at alcohol, so that ideally, after you complete the challenge and you do the daily readings, the videos, and the journaling and the assignments, you'll come to the conclusion that alcohol sucks and you just don't want it anymore. And I feel like I've already come to that conclusion, but yet I drink. So I know there's a physical dependency going on. I know there's some emotional dependency going on. And I'm rooting for me. And I'm going to keep trying. I promise you guys that. All in the video there is that I have no intentions of staying this way. And I know I stand to lose a lot. And I've been reading your comments from the last video, and I don't think Jessie will hang in there literally forever with me in this state. But she's a very resilient woman. We have a deep love. I am letting a lot of business opportunities slip through my fingers. And I don't want to imagine those will always be there. And I don't think my health will always be there like this, no matter how hard I try to stay healthy amidst drinking heavily for 2 to 3 hours a night, 4 or 5 nights a week. So I just want you to know that I know, like, a lot of the things that you guys comment on, and I'm grateful you do, and you have every right to comment anything you feel. A lot of the stuff I do know, and it's not that it's not good to keep hearing it, but like I've been in and out of 12-step rooms since I was 19 years old. That's when I first tried to get sober. I've gone to 2 treatment centers. Both were quite a bit different. My dad is a board-certified addictionologist. He owns an outpatient treatment facility. I've read the books. I've lived this life. I've met countless addicts and alcoholics who have both recovered and then struggled as I have. So this is not my way of saying, look, like, I've got it all figured out. I don't. I am humbled by how difficult this whole thing is. But I just wanted you to know that I still dream of a better way and a better life. And I still think that's where I'm headed, however slow, however many detours. So I appreciate those of you that stick with me and stay with me and ride with me through it. And I have so much love and respect for everybody who has found stability in life without alcohol and drugs and recovery, and it's been really fruitful for them and really good. But at the same time, I think if there's one value in me continuing to share my journey, however often I waver, it is to speak to that man or woman who struggles to get this, or who continues to live under their potential, or who continues to relapse and drink and beat themselves up and run at half capacity. It's okay to struggle with this stuff. I mean, there are real consequences at hand, so I don't want to minimize. And I do believe that this is serious. But I also believe, to everyone who's struggling, I think it's important that we know that we're worth it, that we're okay, and that when we're ready, we'll be ready. Let's pray our bottoms aren't too low, and let's treat ourselves with as much love and respect as we can, outside of the fact that we know we're hurting ourselves and we know it's impacting ourselves and others. It's a weird thing. I just don't believe in kicking people while they're down. And I am thankful that, at the very least, and even though I am constantly thinking about this stuff, I do continue to nurture myself and make sure I love on myself too, because I'm not where I want to be right now, but I think I'm going to be able to do it, and I think I'll be able to get there. So that's all I'm going to say. So if you struggle too, I got your back. Just know I have your back, and I appreciate everyone for the stories you tell, the feedback you give me. I still want to be, I know who I am deep in my heart, but this creates quite a gap between me and that guy, quite a gap. I'd be curious to know if you guys can tell the difference between me communicating to you on day 3 of not drinking as opposed to the last video, which was the morning after I drank. I can already tell my thoughts are more fluid. All right. Well, I'm going to let you guys go. That's video 2 of the 10. I don't exactly know what the next one is. I know we have a video about anger we're going to do, a video about depersonalization we're going to talk about motivation and some rumination. So we're going to get off the alcohol topic from here on out for the next handful of videos, because you guys are dictating the content based on the video I released a week and a half ago. So be good. Thank you for your time. I'm glad I could share this time with you and try to open up about just how shit is for me and how shit's been. We'll see you guys in the next video. Happy 4th of July.